My first time. Hello, Horror Studio 1. I'm a hardcore horror fan. I'm subscribed to many spooky narrators, but this is my first time sending in anything to anyone. Your channel is one of my top 5 to listen to, along with Mr. Nightmare, Creeps McPasta, Hellfreezer, and Your Maker and Fear Your Maker. I love if you read my experience on your channel. If you do, you can refer me to as K. It all started with the loss of my great-grandmother. I was 8 years old when she passed away. I'm 27 now. Anyways, after she passed, I was staying at my grandmother's. She had shared her home with her mother, my great-grandmother. I was lying in bed in the guest bedroom. This room was on the second floor, and the first door to the right across from the bathroom. Next to the bathroom was my grandmother's bedroom. Across from hers was a room that my great-grandmother had slept in. I heard creaking floorboards and looked towards the doorway. I saw a shadow of someone walking towards the end of the hallway. But this shadow looked just like my deceased great-grandmother. It seemed so normal to me, because when she was alive, she had made trips to the restroom during late nights almost every night. I wasn't frightened. I knew it was her, carrying on in the afterlife as if she still lived among the living. Before anyone can ask, I know it wasn't my grandmother because I heard her snoring the whole time, and I wasn't asleep, so it could not have been a dream. Skip forward to my 7th grade year, where I met my friend Dee. Dee was a wild and carefree red-headed girl. One night, while staying at Dee's house, we messed with a Ouija board. Cliché, I know. Well, we were alone in the house, and Dee persuaded me to play. Anyways, we asked questions and spilled candle wax into a bowl of water. Unbelievably, nothing happened. No weird noises, no moving objects, and no messages from the board. Giving up, we went upstairs to Dee's bedroom. She called her boyfriend, while I sat on the other side of the room. Suddenly, my spine went straight and I couldn't move. I felt absolute dread. I knew something was in the little nook behind me. I don't know how I knew, but I just felt it. Still unable to move, I tried calling out to Dee. Only a whispering of her name came out. She paused her conversation with her boyfriend and asked me what. I told her that we were not alone. Dee just went back to her boyfriend, now telling him that I was being weird. I lifted a lighter up and flicked it towards her. It came out normal and she shrugged. Then I wrapped my arm around myself to point the lighter at the nook. Trying to stare in that direction with a locked up spine, I lit the lighter. The flame was huge. It was so high that it lit the nook almost fully. Out of nowhere, I could move again, and Dee got off the phone. We ran downstairs and stayed there until her mom got home. Since that night, I've been aware of the things that lurk in the dark. Thank you for reading this. I have more stories that I like to send. My boyfriend has been haunting me for a year. Dear Horror Studio 1, hello. I enjoy your videos very much. I've been watching you for quite some time now, and aside of that, I wanted to share with you my own personal story. If my English grammar is off or I don't use the correct vocabulary, please forgive me, as my first language is Russian, my second German, and now I'm just learning English as I came to the States in my 9th year. Now, on to the story. I was born in a city in Dagestan, Russia. My family moved to the state of California when I was about to begin my 9th grade year. I believe I was about 14 years old. This is the time when I first met my, first and, at this point, what seems to be my only love. For this story, we'll call him Alex. I had Alex in a few of my classes, and there we hit it off. To skip the lovey-dovey stuff in short, Alex and I were together throughout all of my high school years until I was 20 years old. The day he died. We were together for a total of 7 years, and I loved that man with every ounce of my being. One day, his mother called me to inform he had been in a tragic accident, a head-on collision on the highway. He was in the hospital for 3 days before he passed. When he did finally pass, I was heartbroken. I stopped sleeping and eating. I can't remember, but my mother told me that I laid on the bathroom floor looking at the same wall for days until she took me to a mental facility. There was even worse. It was dirty and was surrounded by crazy people. I wasn't crazy. I just wanted to be with Alex. Days and weeks and months passed by when I had finally had a dream. I dreamed I was in my bedroom back home. I was getting ready for bed in my dream, and I was undressing to get into my night clothes. I saw Alex in my dream, and my whole body jolted. I was self-aware. He stepped forwards towards me, and I could feel the purse of his lips kissing my forehead before he whispered inside my ear, "I love you, Lana. Goodbye." After that, I woke upon the news I was being released. 3 months had passed since my dream, and I was beginning to move on. A piece of me will never not love him. He was gonna be my husband, but it felt good to finally laugh and smile again. One night, I was in the shower, with my head facing towards the water, when I felt a burning sear in my side. I felt someone was watching me. I turned around to see Alex, standing inches away from me in the shower, but something was wrong. His eyes filled with sadness. My first instinct was to hold him, but as soon as I placed my hand on his shoulder, something terrifying happened. Blood started oozing from his head, neck, mouth, chest, and eyes. I screamed and flung myself against the shower wall, and I was screaming for someone to hear me. I couldn't take those sorrowful bloodstained eyes staring at me any longer. I was cowered down, and I got the idea that maybe I should get the fuck out of the shower. I nudged the door open and crawled out until I was on the bathroom floor, and I ran out of that bathroom as fast as I could. That night, I refrained from telling my family as I was scared they would take me back to the hospital. That night, I had another dream about Alex. I don't know why. This time we were in his backyard, and I can't tell you word for word our conversation, but basically, he had agreed to still be my boyfriend, but from on the other side, claiming love's no distance. Of course, in my vulnerable grief and dream state, I agreed. For the rest of the years, this would be routine. I would have self-aware dreams of Alex every night, and I would occasionally see shadow figures throughout my house. In these dreams, it would always be places we have been before. Sometimes we would just talk, just to talk. He would talk about his accident, I would talk about my day. Some dreams we had sex, and other dreams we didn't. Everything felt hazy when I woke up, but I woke up feeling happy every day, like a void had been filled. However, back in January, I didn't dream of Alex. I hadn't dreamt of Alex for a good couple of weeks, and I was beginning to move on once again. I met my father's intern for dinner one night. We can call him Joe. I didn't have feelings for him, and I was just planning for this to be a hookup, since it had been a while, and well, dream sex isn't exactly the same as real sex. All went well, and when Joe and I were about to have sex, I saw Alex. I was laying partially down, naked on my bed, waiting for Joe as he was about to, well, you know. I saw him looking at us through the crack of my door with a look of vengeance. I was dumbfounded, scared really, and in shock, of course. I didn't know if I should look away and pretend I didn't or don't see him, or should I just scream? All of a sudden, as Joe is on top of me, he starts getting a nosebleed and begins to cough up blood. He was coughing so violently, I was scared. I would have to call an ambulance for him. We did not end up hooking up, and Joe went home early. After Joe left, however, I could still feel the negative energies. Back in the room, the tension inside the room was so thick and filled with anger. I could feel it in every inch of my body and even in my bones. Now, I see nothing but Alex throughout my house with that same angry energy. I'm so scared that he won't leave me alone forever. I took a shower the other day, and in the foggy mirror, when I got out of the shower, was written the word betrayal. God. I don't know what to do, as I love him with all my heart. But I know for a fact I cannot be in love with a ghost anymore. It's time for me to move on. It's time for me to move forward. But I don't think he's taking it too well. Please, can anyone give me advice, as I am too scared to be doing this thing on my own? First-hand paranormal witness. Hello, Horror Studio One. My name is Marcelo, and I'll just get right into it. I've always believed in the paranormal since the young age of 9 years old. My brother-in-law was a huge skeptic until he moved into a certain house in Lamont, California. One day, my sister called me to go visit her home so I can give her my opinion about it. Little did I know what I was going to witness that very day, which was the first of many occasions of things I've seen. As I entered the home, I went through the front door, which led directly into the living room. Immediately, I felt strange inside the home. Straight ahead was the dining area next to the kitchen. During my walk in these areas, I felt like I was being watched with every step I took. As I made my way to see the rest of the house, I felt at ease. On my way back, I went past my sister's room, and that's when I saw it. I noticed a young girl, like in the age of 7 to 9, wearing tutu with black top and pink bottom. She was standing, looking towards the south wall of the bedroom, where the bed's headrest was. I brushed it off as I went back to the living room. As I saw my sister, she asked, "So, what do you think?" At that moment, I immediately told her what I saw, and she said, "Really? Oh my God!" I told her I may just be seeing things like I usually do, right? A couple hours later, I left the home. The next day, we made plans to do a barbecue at her house, and I told her I was okay. I started to go to her house with my wife. The moment we arrived, I looked at the window and saw it move. Thinking it was one of her kids, I figured it must have been them, right? I asked her, "Dude, where are your kids?" She says, "They're at the store with OJ. Why?" So I asked then, "Who opened the window when I got here?" And she immediately told me to just shut up. When eventually my brother-in-law arrived, we all just started talking, and since my mother lived with them, we were going to her room. I, at that moment, was following my brother-in-law, but the way the house is built, the kitchen had 2 entries, one from the dining area and the other from the hallway. And there I was, still talking to my brother-in-law, when all of a sudden, I looked to the left, towards the living room and the entry to the dining room. It was then that I saw a man go into the dining area, so I thought it was my brother-in-law. I told him, dude, I thought you were going to mom's room. So I went back to the kitchen. I took at least a second and no one was there. Trust me, I went to the dining area to check and nobody was there. By the way, the person I had seen was wearing a gray shirt. When I finally went to my mom's room, I asked my brother-in-law, were you in the kitchen like 5 seconds ago? He said, no, why, bro? I then told him that I saw a man go into the dining area, and I went to check since I thought it was him. He then told me to stop playing games, and I kept telling him, I was like, dude, I'm not playing. About a week later, I went to drop something off for my mother, so I told my sister, dude, open the garage door. She said, okay. As it opened, I saw a toy that was for my daughter on top of a bag and not on the floor, exactly where I left it about 2 weeks ago from when I went to my sister's house. I told my sister, okay, dude, we're taking off, my wife and I. She said, okay, bro, thanks for coming. I told her, no problem. As we were leaving, I saw my daughter's toy on the floor. I told my sister, hey, I just saw it in the bag, not the floor. Did you just put it on the floor like that? She looked at the toy and said, no. Then, as we were talking about something else totally unrelated, the toy started shaking very hard. We both looked at it and I told my sister, okay, I'm leaving. After a few times, I visited her home. I kept seeing like shadow figures move, but just ignored it every time. I saw the door to my nephew's room. It was there. I got the worst feeling just by looking at that friggin' door. Eventually, I was very lucky that my sister moved. I pass the home maybe like 3 times a week, and I wonder if the people living in it now have seen something yet. Well, that was it. Have a good day. Hope to hear you narrate this story. Never said goodbye. About a year ago, my dad and I were taking a drive down a secluded road. It was beautiful then. The silence suddenly was broken, freaking the hell out of us. It was 2 weird screams, frickin' blood-curdling screams. We kept saying to each other, what the hell, what was that? What the hell, what was that? I was the only one who had cell service on my phone, so I looked it up. What animal made a sound like that? And it said it was a skinwalker. So I started doing a little faster research to see what it was, and my dad was starting to freak out even more since my face turned pure white after seeing what these things are. At that moment, I told him to just hightail it out of there and get the hell out of this place, this blood-awful place. So, at that moment, we started driving really fast, and then, out of the darkness, a very faint, very, very faint shadow popped up. At first, I thought maybe it was just a little lost dog or something. But as it came closer, I could see that it was no dog. The best way to describe it would be a bear with human features, if that makes any sense. So the next thing that happened, it started ramming the side of the truck, and then soon after the 3rd time that it hit us, my father's side window broke, and he had to slam on the brakes because glass shattered all over him. It cut his left arm, so when we were stopped, it came sprinting at us insanely fast. Suddenly, it stopped inches away from my dad, and it let out that blood-curdling scream again. Then, it grabbed him, dragged him out of his window. I jumped in the driver's seat and I floated out of there. We haven't heard a word or seen anything like that since. And still to this day, I will not leave the comfort of my home.